Welcome to the Rabia and Sana show. We're two Desi girls reinventing cultural norms with love to make difficult conversations easier to help you take courageous steps faster.
Whether you feel like a misfit now or have been breaking the standards, this podcast is for you, for the adults, the young. Come as you be and become your authentic self as you desire. Let's go reinvent some cultural norms together.
Hello everyone, I am Rabia Paracha. I have been a rebel without a cause for most of my life until I discovered my purpose to empower women to empower themselves. And that led me down a rabbit hole to become a life coach from CTI Coactive Coaching. And today I'm a mind and life power coach who helps people break free of their limiting cultural beliefs to find the life they love and the love of their life.
Hello everyone, I am Sana. I am from New Jersey, a Pakistani American. Professionally, I work in the clinical research field. And personally, I have always had this purpose of empowering women of South Asian culture to be able to live the life that they want to live and be true to themselves instead of what the culture expects them to be. And so here I am pursuing that purpose, and I am also studying to become a life coach. Let's get started.
Hello, amazing souls. Welcome to another episode of the Rabia and Sana Show, the podcast where we reinvent cultural norms to elevate your emotional, mental, relationship, and professional well-being. I'm Rabia Paracha.
And I'm Sana Shah. In this episode, we are honored to be sitting down with Dr. Sujata Ives, the doctor who connects the dots, and Sandra Horton, the change agent. Welcome, both of you. We are so excited to have you on our show.
Thank you so much, Sana and Robbie.
So before we get started, can you please tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
So as Sana said, I'm the doctor who connects the dots. I'm practicing in private practice as a career practitioner and certified counselor. I am a world global consultant and the current president of the Maryland Career Development Association, as well as the community coordinator for World Council on Intercultural and Global Competency, UNESCO. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sujata Ives. So my name is Sandra Horton, and I'm coming from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. And I'm actually known as a success change catalyst. I have been practicing change management for 25 plus years. And I do a lot of my consulting work is within healthcare, but also across different industries. My wonderful gifts that I love to be able to share with organizations is really creating those pathways of change. As a certified ProSci change management practitioner, I also really dig into those wonderful leaders that want to elevate their emotional intelligence as a certified EQI practitioner, because we always want to unleash our potential. And again, this is my joy to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure to have both of you here. And I'm really excited to get into talking about Activate Success, that you have joined your accomplished forces to create this beautiful book. And I can't wait till when it's out and we can all have a copy in our hands. So Dr. Sujata is the dot connector, and Sandra, you are the change catalyst, right, for successful leadership. Self-discovery and leadership is a huge topic. So what inspired both of you to join forces to write this book? And, why is it important to self-lead?
Thank you so much, Rabia. I was very fortunate to meet Sujata at an event. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but when you meet someone that you genuinely connect, that you just really resonate, you've had that moment of, wow, we really just jive so well together. And we just really understood that we shared some common values, that our purpose, even though our roles may be different, we were creating the change. We were helping individuals to change, teams and organizations. And it just really fit so nicely and so well. And we were realizing that our own personal journeys, our leadership journeys through self-discovery and through change and then sustainable impact were actually really similar. And we thought, wow, like, is there an opportunity for us to come together? And it was that inner journey within that really transformed us and through the 4 essential questions. And that was it just was such an easy fit. And I really hope that your viewers are able to find someone like I was able to find with, Dr. Sujata Ives. And that's kind of how we began our great journey together. Sujata, do you want to share from that?
Sure. So, when guys get together, they play sports. And, they're tossing the ball and, and just kind of bonding that way through sports events and getting to know each other through sports events. One thing that Sandra and I did was, what do we have in common? What are our experiences as females? Because that's the thing. That was the catalyst, really, of comparing notes, so to speak, about how it is for women out there, how limited the chances are for female leadership, and what can we do to help the next generation. And so we came up, Sandra just mentioned the 4 essential questions, and you might be wondering, what are they? What's going on here? Since you don't have the book yet, but when you have the book, we start off self-discovery with 4 very essential questions, and they are as simple as it may seem. We have also written a workbook that goes with this book to help you through these essential questions. And they are: who am I? Where am I going? How do I get there? And how do I stay there? Easy peasy, right? Well, we really wanted to help you through these essential questions through the first pillar, which is self-discovery. And once you get through this process, we bring you to the second pillar, which is change readiness. Are you ready and prepared with your schema, with your bias, with everything that you bring to the workplace and everything that you bring to the table? And then our third pillar in the book is sustainable impact, because we want to make life easier for females to get into leadership positions, and frankly, make it a non-toxic workplace where it can be inclusive to not only females, but to biculturality, like I am, multiculturalism, and as well as neurodiversity. Thank you.
Wow, that's a really amazing story. Well, congratulations to both of you, first of all. And the book really sounds like a very comprehensive guide to becoming a great leader, and especially coming from the female point of view. So let's go deeper into these themes that you guys lay out in your book. So what are some of the steps that we can take practically to discover ourselves?
Sana, one of the greatest opportunities that we have in this present moment as women leaders is the opportunity to choose to learn, to choose to have a moment to say, there's something more here for me, and make that choice to truly go into self-discovery. And when we're unpacking those 4 essential questions, we make that choice. Yes, I want to learn about myself. One of the greatest things I like to share from my personal experience was really going back and looking at my family roots, looking at, wow, where do I come from? I come from leaders. This wasn't really known to myself, because in my work world, I had been so, unfortunately, on autopilot, living that corporate lifestyle, being in toxic work environment. And until I stopped and I said, well, why am I leading the way I'm leading? I took that moment to kind of go back in and learn my story. I don't stay in my story, but I've learned where I was coming from. And that's that first piece of really just unpacking the onion, as we always say, to learn about ourselves. What impact did our parents have? What is our cultural impacts on us? How are we actually looking from our own perspective? And our perception is really framed from those backstories and being able to then shift it. The learning, for me, I value learning, as does Sujata. And I think for many of our readers and for your listeners, asking yourself that simple question, what is my take on learning? Am I open to learn in every single moment? And that's that piece about self-discovery, because we're so purposeful. We're always on the go, right? Like people, if you're leading, you're going, you're doing, we need to stop and observe. That's that second piece of observation. So we're beginning, yes, we've made the choice. Now we need to stop, observe, and reflect. What stories am I telling myself? How am I in my emotional intelligence showing up? Do I actually know what's happening in my body? As someone who is always on the go, purposefully chasing that proverbial golden handcuff, as I say, which is financial achievement. Wow. The moment I made that stop and go, that isn't achievement. That is empty. So I stopped, I observed, I reflected, I challenged, I reprogrammed, and it's been very purposeful and powerful. So EQI is really a powerful place to go to ground into your heart, not just your mind. That was for me the most powerful thing just to begin with. Sujata?
Thank you, Sandra. So, Sana, the steps, what are the steps that people can take today, immediately, to activate success in their life? The very first thing is to take a step back. And as funny as that may seem, asking people to take a step back, to take a good look at the self. There's such a big focus on our environment, the influences of our environment, the texting, the rapidness of things and information exchange. It can be too much. So the very first is to sit down, take a step back, and say, who am I? And what do I need? There's a big difference between a need and a want. So on a piece of paper, as you think about who am I, write down what your needs are. Then write down what your wants are. And those are the very first, step 1 and 2, very first steps that I would start with, Sana.
Amazing. I think those are both very insightful and meaningful things to consider when you want to create and invoke change, being prepared for change. And one of the other concepts that you do talk about is change readiness. So how can individuals cultivate a mindset of that change readiness in terms of the mindset within their teams or organizations? What can they do?
The first thing that an individual can do is understand there's differences between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. There is an absolute difference. One of the things, and perhaps you can even experience in your own life when you were growing up, what were you told? How did your parents, your grandparents, the others speak to you about your potential? Was it very focused? Was it limited? Like, this is how you were born. This is where you're going to go. This is the opportunities. Those are very fixed mindset, very perfectionistic. Either you do it or you don't. So there's a lot of bias. There's a lot of limitations, which leads to that negative self-talk. Where a growth mindset is, hey, if I fail, guess what? I'm growing. It's a learning. There's opportunity and growth. So that's the first thing, is to understand. And I would advocate the great work of Carol Dweck is an exceptional book to read around fixed versus growth mindset. Bringing that forward in terms of the steps that you can take, understand that, and then ask yourself, where do you fit? Do you have a growth mindset? Are you actually looking for the good in situations? Are you observant of others? How can you see the positive? More of an appreciative inquiry like I do in the work that I'm used to in the healthcare and other organizations? Or are you looking at the limitations, the gaps, the deficits? Look for the positive and the possibilities, the opportunities.
Yes, Sandra. Fixed to growth mindset for change readiness is imperative. So, in the past few years, what I've found through my research as a counselor is helping people for change readiness through preparation, of course, that we talked about. But there's a very special place in the brain, in the frontal lobe, where executive functions are. So once you have mastered your awareness and intention to get things from the back brain to the front brain, you can even push those neurons further into a state of perspicacity. And what perspicacity does for you is those are those aha moments. I have a very dear friend of mine who's Jewish, and she makes me laugh because she says, Sujata, these are come to Jesus moments. And, it just makes me crack up because here she is from a different religion and culture, that has different beliefs, but you can connect those dots yourself. But the point here is there is something inside this miraculous brain. There are neurotransmitters, there are chemicals, there are connections, so much is going on. And so for the past few years, my research has centered around perspicacity as a real positive step and awakening, if you will, for a successful life.
Wow, I love that you go into change readiness and promoting change, because I'm a professional corporate leader myself, and I know it's such a daily struggle for me as well with my team to promote change. And so I notice a lot of resistance to change. So how can we as leaders promote that fixed mindset to the growth mindset, and how can we make our team members realize more of the perspicacity that they have? What are some steps we can do?
So I'm going to also promote the book that Sandra talked about, and that's the book by Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset. And this is Dr. Carol Dweck, who is a professor of psychology in Stanford University. And what she's done for the world is differentiate between a very strict, fixed, one-side thinking. And so she's asking everybody through awareness to open the awareness a little bit better, your consciousness of things a little bit wider. And so what are the steps that you can take from fixed to growth mindset? The first step is to question your thinking. If you are thinking something, if you are believing something, assuming something, the very first step is, again, take a step back. We're so conditioned, this back brain is so conditioned to take a step forward, but let's take a step back. Is this thinking, is this assuming, is this believing working for me? Well, it's not. So what if I thought this instead of this? And that's what Dr. Dweck does for us in this fixed to growth mindset, is change your thinking. Now, in the counseling field, in the psychology field, we go one step further. This is called metacognition. Metacognition is thinking about how you think. Okay, so if you engage in that metacognition, how am I thinking? Am I thinking in terms of faulty thinking or growth thinking? So then the question comes, so, what's faulty thinking? Well, faulty thinking is when people generalize. It's this all or nothing thinking, or it's just the blinders on, right? So it's like when people say, you never help me, right? And then the husband will say, never, or you're always late. And then the husband will say, always, and so it's these poles of thinking. And so we really need to inspect our metacognition to get to the discernment part, to get to perspicacity. So what I've just said is Carol Dweck helps us from fixed to growth through awareness and questioning how we're thinking. But then you can go from growth to perspicacity by, guess what? Metacognition. And just making that, what I call in the book, code shift. It takes a little shift in that thinking. What if I thought this way? What would happen?
Amazing. Sandra, did you want to add something?
I wanted to add just kind of backing to what Sana was asking with the resistance to change, because I think this is a key piece. Why do people actually resist within their teams, and how can leaders help support, reduce the resistance to change? So whether you are mindful and you understand like the stages of change, I'm just going to say, like, I love William Bridges' work. Simple, simple, simple. Old way is done. We go into this transition, kind of uncomfortable gray zone, and then the new way is the new way. And so for many individuals within a team, the things that you can do to help ease that transition place, to reduce the barriers, again, it really takes someone who is the right leadership position to share the why. As simple as that is. And if individuals have gone through multiple stacks of change, depends on the scope of change, the adoption that is expected, like really, like what am I actually supposed to do here? And so if there's multiple changes, maybe new leaders come in, an individual can go into that state of overwhelm. And what happens? They shut down, they withdraw. And it is not a good place to be in a team. So what a leader can do is be very clear, be direct, be a visible sponsor, and communicate the why. The next thing you can do as a leader is to understand, and I love the pro-sci change management model, which is individual change, is to, again, to really focus on individually the awareness. Where is that person? To assess the person, do they really truly understand the why? And then from that, where do they fit within the desire to change? Because if they're in a state of overwhelm and they're perhaps even going into that, if you look at Kubler-Ross's grieving process, because the old way is gone, the new way's here, and I don't know where I'm going, they can go into that either, the fight flight in the back of the brain, which then shows up in perhaps even depression, anger, the denial, like all those different stages. It's all shows up in that. We see it in teams, don't we? And people check out. So we need to engage them, really measure their desire, and then provide the solutions to move forward. What is that? It's knowledge. It's the knowledge to help them to see the new way forward. And what we can do is model. And in the book, we have many different leadership styles, whether you need to go in and move and shift people through a quiet leadership style or into even a pace setter, which is more goal setting, to say, okay, we are wanting to work together to move us forward. How can you do that? Then you help with not only the knowledge, the ability, and then you reinforce the change. Those are some things that work easily for leaders to help them with that resistance and giving them space and place to just share, let them kind of go through that grieving process and then get them moving forward. So hopefully that was helpful.
Very helpful indeed. I think what I'm hearing from both of you is first questioning, who am I? And then also, who do I want to be? What change do I need in my life?
Mm-hmm.
And then having that support structure from leaders to actually feel that employee or that person feel seen and heard. And then connecting with those values that speak to the big why. And then creating that segue rather than that barrier. And that is really crucial to creating that shift from that fixed mindset to that open mindset, and also to feel like you're a part of the team. You belong in this community you're in. So at a point in your book, you do mention that quitting is not acceptable and it can lead to negative role hopping patterns. How can individuals overcome the urge to quit when faced with adversity?
So, the start of this book, we address the pandemic immediately because this pandemic threw this whole workplace situation, personal lives, into crisis. And leadership was in crisis. They didn't know how to pivot. They didn't know what to do. Employees' values changed. And all of a sudden, we saw something called quiet quitting, that people were just sneaking out the back door, and not communicating, and leadership didn't know what their needs were and what do we do and so forth and so on, because there had not been a pandemic since the late 1800s, right? So coming to this statement, so we're connecting dots here. So that's the dot that connects to the don't quit statement. What we say in the book is, yes, crisis has happened. Leadership, we believe, is going to take years to find what we call the new normal principle, and some people, some leaders, some managers have it in their head that we're going to go back to how things were before the pandemic, and that's going to be the new normal. But the employees have spoken. They have elderly parents that they're taking care of. They have pets that they're taking care of. They have proven that they can get their work accomplished from home and from remote means. So the new normal is going to take compromise. It's going to take a hybrid stand. So what I'm thinking is this: if you want to cry, please cry. It's going to be a great vent for biological means to get rid of that stress. So crying is fully acceptable, and some people get so sick to their stomachs that they actually throw up. Throwing up is also acceptable. But quiet quitting, we're asking people to take a second look at this, and how to work with your managers and leaders so that your need, your new normal can be voiced in and communicated in a particular way, so that this can also help the workplace managers and leaders to make their decisions and problem solve. Because honestly, if you ask me, I don't think it's going to go back to how things were pre-pandemic. I really don't think that's Sandra.
Thank you, Sujata. And I'm going to add on to that piece, because what I am actually experiencing in so many different settings that I work in is that there is a demand, and I'm very purposeful in that word, demand, from the younger generation. They are looking for conscious leadership. They are demanding a we, not an I. That's a fundamental shift that goes directly in opposition to the old top-down type of leadership style where we came from. Particularly women, marginalized individuals are saying, hey, wait a second, there's new opportunities here. We've shifted. We're in a hybrid opportunity now. I'm choosing to stay in a hybrid because guess what? For women particularly, it reduces the microaggression. that we find in the workplace. One of the biggest challenges women face is microaggression. So this new normal phenomenon is we're not accepting this. So now what? So I'm experiencing that this rebirth, this focused intention to say we are looking for a leader that understands my voice matters. So hear me, open your door, invite me to the table. Let me share what ideas I have. And this is that key, kind of sweet little spot that we want to invite into people. We're changing, so invite everyone's voice to the table. What are some new innovative ideas? We talk a lot about our global mindset and we talk about sustainable impact. Guess what? That is rich in diversity of voices. It's rich in inviting others to share and co-elevate, to co-create new innovative solutions. That's the antidote to what was the old way of being. And so we need to rise up. We need to become more conscious of ourselves. That's why within our Ives Horton model is so critical. Just have to stop, observe ourselves, know the story about ourselves, our leadership story, and then make a better choice, to be conscious, be present in the moment, be open to others and voices, work with them through the change, and you too, and be vulnerable and be authentic. Be conscious, take radical responsibility. And that is how we are able to move ourselves and our teams and organizations forward. So that's what I wanted to.
Thank you both. I think it's really promoting the feeling of we are a team, as our team members, it doesn't matter, even though we are leaders, they're still part of it. So what in my own journey, what I've noticed is when we try to change your complete leadership style, change your mindset, the old kind of still sometimes creeps in. And what I have learned is it's never a linear process. Like you go up a little bit, then will be days when you'll come down, and then picking yourself back up and then moving back up again. So how can we promote and how can we have sustainable impact and have long-term success when it comes to these type of leadership skills?
For me, and thanks, Sana, because you know what, just a breath, just take a breath. Every moment is unique, isn't it? It's a blessing. We have gratitude with it. So I would say that's the first thing. For sustainable impact, we have to come in with an attitude of gratitude. And as a leader, how do we show that? What are some actions that we can take to demonstrate, to basically lead first? We go first. This is what people are looking for. So how are you demonstrating? How are you showing? How do people feel that you have gratitude? If we show up every single day and open our doors and welcome our teammates in with what's new? How are you doing today? What powerful, profound moments would that be? Because everyone's coming to work with this open heart that's wanting to do the best that they can. And if we show up first with that sense of gratitude, with an openness to hear how people are doing in the present moment, each and every day, guess what? When we have those down days or those up days, which hopefully will be more than the down days, people go, thank you. They feel heard. That sense of belonging, we're just talking about that, Sana. Connection within collaboration is the key. So I'll repeat that, the connection within the collaboration. Some of our core activators talk specifically about that. Be clear. That's one easy way. Have clarity and come in with the positive. Look for the positive aspects. Also builds long-term sustainable impact. Understanding and sharing your vision. Are people clear? Why am I here? How did my values align with a long-term vision? Going first, role modeling. All of these things are actions you can take as a leader right now. There's so much I could go dive into. So I want to just hold space a little bit, just kind of setting the context around sustainable impact. But ultimately, it always comes back to you, the leader. What are you doing? How are you thinking? Because what we think, we create. So I think that's a powerful place for sustainable impact. If you want to leave a legacy for the next generation, every single day matters. So let's raise our consciousness, ask ourselves all these questions we've been talking about to this point, how we're showing up, what we're being, understanding who we are, where we're going, how do we get there, and how do we stay there? Openness, learning, acceptance. Over to you, Sujata.
Thank you, Sandra. Just wonderful. So we're taking you through this book and scaffolding with the workbook. So this first pillar was self-discovery. It starts with the self. Then we talked about preparedness for change and change readiness. And the third pillar is that pillar of sustainable impact. Once each company comes to that perspicacious moment of that aha moment of this is what we need for the new normal. And once they institute that in their workplaces, now begins the third stage of sustainable impact, because we want those good, positive workplace behaviors, policies, and procedures to continue to help the next generation, right? And we want to say goodbye to those pre-pandemic behaviors and policies and procedures that don't work for post-pandemic. So in this book, it has 15 chapters, and those 15 chapters have something to get you started. We call these activators. So each chapter, based on our experiences, we've brought you 2 activators per chapter. So when we take you through the self-discovery chapters, then we take you through the change readiness and leadership styles, we come to the third portion of the book, which is sustainability, which starts with global-minded leadership. And there, the activators that we bring to the reader, to the listener, are perspectives and dialogue. Now, understand there is a third component here for success, and that is personality. So we bring you that personality research as well. There are models that we bring you here, because we know there are people that just cannot bring gratefulness to the workplace each and every day, and they may be, their sister-in-law may have died. So this may be affecting them, right? So they're bringing their authentic selves to the workplace. And so you, as a leader, a conscious leader, has to work with each team member based on who they are and what they're bringing that day. Now, let's make a huge, huge, huge distinction here. The inner values that a person has, they're going to bring that long term, but on a daily basis, they're going to bring their feelings and stressors to the table, you see? So that's why a good leader needs to know each person at their table. You can't treat everybody the same. You have to get to know each person's needs. So here, this is taking those perspectives, understanding those perspectives, and effective communication and dialogue, the sustainable leadership of legacy and impact that Sandra just talked about. We definitely want to leave our legacy here. And so, we wrote this book so that it could help the people in the workplace in all generations of the workplace, from traditionalist baby boomers to alpha generation. And at the very end of our book, our last chapter for that third pillar is, guess what? Hope. So we talk about hope leadership. And there, our activators are optimism and strength. How can we build each other up? Here we are, 4 women at the table today. Let's lift each other up through understanding, right? No judgment. The brain judges. It perceives. That's what it does. But this is growth and perspicacity and improvement is going to take awareness, acceptance, and dialogue.
Such amazing advice, such amazing key factors that create a healthy community, a healthy team, a healthy corporation. Like there's so many things that there would be so much benefit from what you're just sharing. And I can't wait to hold your book in my hand and read it from cover to cover, because you're talking to a corporate environment in terms of activating success. But I believe that every area of our lives is going to be impacted by this book. And so I think it's really important, whether you're working in a corporation, you're self-employed, or you're an employee, or you have a family and you want to activate success there. I think this is just an incredible tool that we will be lucky to have. We'll have the link to your book in the description of this episode as well, so that everyone can access, get their book. So what you're saying is that this journey isn't linear. It's a process, right? It's a process. That's why we need that workbook with the information, so we can continuously make those upgrades. We can continuously work as a team. We can continuously understand ourselves through introspection and show up people where they need to be met to create that shift. So how does introspection contribute to effective teamwork and collaboration? What are some strategies that you could share with us?
I love that question. You know, the greatest gift that we can bring to our teams is not only our authentic self, but just us as individuals, and having the openness to co-create. Co-elevation leadership is truly that next level, that next step. And what I mean by that, and what you can do now, it's a shift. It's an openness to say, okay, forget the hierarchy. That's done. We're going to work collaboratively. We're going to build connections, and we're going to find some new solutions together. So whether it's in a short little huddle, or it's in your weekly, Monday morning, hey, what are we going to do this week? We open ourselves up to say, what new ideas do you have? And everyone shares. And it's co-created. It's a co-elevation. We are moving beyond what was, okay, I'll give my idea here, but we really know that, well, Sally over there is going to make the decision, right? It's understanding that each voice matters. The other important thing is understanding how we can pace or relax and sit and observe the different types of leadership styles. That's the uniqueness about our book, which I really, really love. It's learning perhaps some new language, perhaps some new knowledge, and then going and applying it in your workplace. What is the best way that I can show up using different types of leadership styles relevant to that circumstance? So consider now, like your last meeting, maybe you're fighting a new crisis and you have to redeploy a team in 2 weeks. And you have to set up a whole new healthcare system. Woo, that's a lot. So how do we do that? Not one person can have the answer, right? It's building that team, authentically showing up, co-creating, building that connection, and importantly, the trust. These are all co-elevation aspects, but then we add in other leadership styles that may help support us to quickly and easily move our team and organization forward, because it's such a complex world we live in right now, and particularly in the corporate world. There's just so much dynamicism around with so many inputs happening. So that's where I want to land on that piece. Sujata, what are your thoughts? Also looking at one thing, sorry, I was just going to say about systems thinking, because as a systems thinker, I apply a systems thinking lens. Learn about systems thinking. Explore Peter Senge. Explore some of the other great theorists about systems, because if a leader in this new environment doesn't understand systems thinking, you're going to fail, because systems are what we need to ultimately, in a really purposeful and intentional way, be able to shift in how we show up, how we are able to move across that system, understanding the interdependencies of different pieces within that, including, importantly, the people side of the equation, not just the system or the tech side of it, understanding how to move the people through the system in a way that's supportive, a way that's aligned, will lead to collaboration and will lead to this next, I feel, kind of iteration of how we do business. So over to you, Sujata.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So one huge mistake systems are making is that they are instituting one-size-fits-all model. And we addressed that in the book. Those one-size-fits-all, they just don't work post-pandemic anymore. This brings in the construct of motivation. The leader has to get to know you as an individual, but then has to go one step further and has to get to know the team as a collective. So how is the individual thinking, feeling, stressing? But then how is the team as a collective feeling, valuing, and stressing? And these are these nuances that we have in this book that we haven't seen in any other leadership book that's written by mostly male. So we're bringing this female perspective of you can't just use one leadership style for an individual or for a team. It's failing because people are quiet quitting or loud quitting, even for that matter.
Yeah.
So teams, as a collective team, you can bring them together. And we say this very strongly in the book. You can hold them together with a particular glue. And that glue is the mission and the vision of the company. That's your basics. So we encourage you to start there. Always bring in the mission and the vision of the company. After that, after you have this collective team, this collective group, or this collective family on that brain wavelength, on that same page, then you go one step further. And that's when we start talking about the construct of motivation. There are internal and external motivators. Some people are motivated by external factors such as money, but then you have other people that are motivated by internal, like attribution of success and that grateful peace, that gratefulness, and so forth, right? That they've done a job well done. But then guess what? If they've done a job well done, they might also have an external motivator of recognition. So we know, according to Forbes magazine, people quit for different reasons, but one of the reasons is they're not recognized, or other people or managers or leaders steal their ideas, so they're not given credit. Let's talk here for real. This is real talk going on here, isn't it? So, we address all these points that other leadership books have not addressed. And we're not shy about this. We're not shy at all. So thank you for the chance to bring our perspective today.
No, thank you for sharing these little nuances in your book. I think that is so amazing, and so something that we don't get to see at all. Like you're saying, the little struggles in the daily leadership life. And I love that a message of flexibility with the leadership style, changing, and to knowing your audience and to delivering it in that way. I love that message. And I think as a female and as a mother, we are leaders as well, right? So sometimes with our children, we do that too. With our kids, change the way you talk to the younger one, or the different experience with the kid. So I think the female traits, bringing those into leadership styles and really being authentic with that is such a great, beautiful message. So I also know there's something in your book. There's a principle that you guys are introducing called empathy ethic principle. So can you please explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. Empathy ethic is akin to like how we need to exist, our ethos. It's how we embody everything that we are, and coming forth and letting others understand and sharing with others. There's so many things. So Sujata, do you want to ground in the definition and how we've been able to really bring this through the book? It's very powerful.
Thank you, Sandra. So there is a certain glossary that we have
Exactly.
embedded in this book. Okay, so that glossary is, I've already mentioned the activators, what the heck are activators, and so that's something new that we brought to the book. The other thing that we talk about is the new normal principle. And the third thing was this feeling, value, stressing construct. And the fourth thing that we bring to you, and perhaps one of the most important, is an empathy ethic. So everybody knows the word empathy, right? Because you want to understand the other person and what the other person is going through. But what we've done that's different in this book is we've attached the word ethic to this book, because we feel that this goes into ethical conduct. It's how you conduct yourself in the workplace and with other people. You can sit there and you can say that you are being empathetic to that other person. But what we're saying is it's your ethical duty in the workplace to cultivate empathy instead of, and let's get real because I'm giving you all these real life examples here. So pre-pandemic, when I had a job that I was doing through my military moves and such, I really had the chance to see the behavior and notice the behaviors of people. And what people were doing is, if other people annoyed them, or if they lost patience with that person, they would go straight to the principal's office and start complaining about this other teacher or this other worker. And so in our book, the empathy ethic means put yourself in that person's shoes. It's have empathy for that person and understanding, but it's your ethical duty to also help them in the workplace, because maybe they don't have the same skills as you do. You're bringing a different skill set. And this is where this awareness piece is so important. The self-discovery is so important. So if you have this knee-jerk response to go to the principal's office to, tell on this other teacher or this other worker, stop yourself, take a step back and say, what's resonating inside of me? And is it ethical for me to go and complain every time, right? So here's the thing, as a leader, one of the things that I say is this: if you're going to go in desperation into the manager's office or into the manager's email, right? You can email that same complaint. What's resonating inside it? And be sure that you have a solution. If you're going with a problem, what's the solution? Don't just go in there whining, complaining about your teammates. You can't have team unity that way, right? As a collective team. So that empathy has to be linked with ethical conduct. And this is a piece that nobody ever talks about, like what's my duty in the workplace, or what's my empathy conduct even in a family as a group, right? So this book doesn't address the family as such as much as it addresses the workplace. But we feel so strongly about people have to, in the new normal, have to cultivate an empathy ethic. I'll tell you. So that's in this book. Now, in my next book, which is going to be about teams and families and groups and so forth, and, that'll be coming out soon, because Activate Success started 5 years ago for me. And then I met Sandra, and just the beautifulness of richness of what Sandra brings to the table really captivated my heart. And so we knew that we had to do a project together. And also the message that I wanted to send to people was, if I'm here saying women need to lift each other up, then why am I not working with a woman myself? Let's lift women up. Let's not, be divisive like this world is just dividing us. But there's so much to say. There's so much to do still. So Sandra, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to respect the beautiful time, Rabia and Sana, where we're at. But I think the key piece here, and also for your show, kind of reinventing cultural norms, wrapping this piece up. The segment is, as we grow, as we make the choice to really go within, to self-discover, there's lots of pieces, because the more we are aware, more emotionally intelligent we are, the truth of us, who we are, our leadership story, we own it through those 4 essential questions. We can go with others. We can invite others to come with us through the change that ultimately leads to the sustainable impact, which is where we want to go. But importantly, everyone is so diverse. There's so many beautiful voices that are coming into these work environments. It is no longer acceptable not to listen to others. It's no longer acceptable not to have diversity at the table. It's no longer acceptable that a top-down approach, a new normal, a new way of being has emerged. And I want to really anchor that in. Empathy, consciousness, elevating ourselves as leaders. We're all leaders, whether we're formal or informal. So let's make a choice today to truly be the best versions of ourselves. Take that next step. And that's where I really feel this book is so perfectly aligned at this juncture, to give you not only the tips and the tools, but the insights, the lived experiences of 2 women who've gone through a lot of stuff. And we share our own stories actually as a case study. So you get to know a little bit more about us and why we are where we are today.
The future looks very bright thanks to the wealth of information that is contained in Activate Success. How do you envision the future of leadership? What are the trends? How is it evolving? What can you tell us about that as we wind down?
Absolutely. So I'll jump in. I'd like to share just from a perspective as an example within healthcare, the integration and the relationship building, not only between individuals, humans to humans, but humans to AI. And I think the human to AI connection is going to be paramount to improve efficiencies and the effectiveness of not only leaders, but organizations. I'm going to provide an invitation that we need to look at new ways to change our mindset about how we can build that relationship so there's more emotional intelligence built into those new technologies that are going to come alongside us. We're in the process of change. So I really see that being brought into particular areas within systems right now where we can improve efficiencies, where we can. It's not replacing the humans, it's adding to it so that we can be more powerful, more purposeful, using our humanness to really transform and make a difference globally. So that's where I really see that power being displayed. I'm obviously, with Rabia and I, we're in Canada, in the United States is represented, but around the world. This is the new normal. And so us opening up, understanding it, and then having a say of how we want to bring that into our work world is really key, I think, for transformation and for change as we move forward. And I always say humans can change their perspective to change their lives. So let's work with those beautiful new iterations of the AI world and things like that, so we can embrace however that works in an ethical way within the constraints that we can still manage and control. Over to you, Sujata.
Thank you so much. Yes, we will continue to inspect the human machine relationships. And I think that those are going to have to be fine-tuned because it is definitely going to be a future trend. And also we will continue to work with human relationships. And so we're talking about relationship with the self, with the team, with its system, and with technology. So now here's the thing, right? If Technology is making life easier. Why do people still have anxiety and stress and burnout? So this is a visual here. In empirical science, this is a positive correlation, and so is this. But this is a negative correlation, and this is a negative correlation when you talk about two constructs. So we know that we have this negative correlation. This tech is making our lives so much easier. This thing carries 60 gadgets. It carries a flashlight, a camera, a recorder, a boombox, music player. I mean, this thing is just in one hand now, right? So it's making life so much easier, but still the anxiety, the depression, that we're still just battling all of these social issues. So one of my presentations here that's coming up for a national conference in June is going to be the intersection of human, machine, and religion.
Wow. Thank you so much, both of you. And thank you for bringing up that technology aspect. I think that everything that you both are saying is this beautiful new way of leading and new way of living, which is so necessary these days. So thank you so much for your book. I can't wait personally to dig into it myself. And I hope that our listeners today will be able to take some new ideas and some insights and apply it in their own leadership journey. So thank you both once again. Where can our listeners find you guys or reach out to you?
You guys can please find me on LinkedIn. I appreciate that. And please tell me who you are.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sandra?
And thank you, Sujata. So I'm pretty prolific on not only on LinkedIn, but particularly on Facebook, on Instagram. So Sandra J. Horton on Facebook, LinkedIn, same, Sandra J. Horton, and on Instagram under Sandra Jane Horton. But importantly, we are launching our website, www.activate-success.com. And we will have access to where you can purchase the book through that, which you'll be able to get the book at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So we're super excited. So again, thank you. Reach out, just share how you were connected through your great show. And thank you for the honor to be here. I really genuinely have greatest gratitude. So thank you.
It's been such a delight to have both of you. Did you have anything that you want to leave our listeners and our viewers with in parting?
I'd like to say that, we close our book with hope. And I'd like to close this podcast with the same. We are with you. We are for you. We are here for you. So please don't lose hope. Keep that strength and optimism going, because change is constant. It's, whatever you're feeling today, it's going to change tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujata, and that's beautiful. And I would echo an ethos statement, which is change your perspective, change your life. I said it earlier, but it is the truth. You are the power is within. So make the choice today to change and be that, as I say, I would love to see more success change catalysts stepping up in your own power, in your own way, as small as it is or as big as it needs to be, because that's what we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Really enjoyed our episode today. And so, Sana, it's that time of our episode.
Yep. We're two Daisy girls.
Reinventing cultural norms.
With love. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Please rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And follow the Rabia and Sana Show on social medias.
Remember, you can watch the video version on YouTube. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
If you want life coaching services or you are reinventing cultural norms for yourself and think you would be a great guest and want to be on our show, please email contact@therabiaandsanashow.com.
And be sure to check out our next episode. See you next time.
See you next time.